Welcome to San Diego Comic Con.
What's up? What's up? The Australians are in the house. How are you guys?
It's not cold here at all. It's like San Diego, but with no sun.
Yes.
It's amazing.
No sun, and it's frosty, and we're in a garage with T-shirts on.
It's not a garage. It's San Diego. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining our panel and watching us online.
Yeah.
We are Grail Hunters Australia. We do podcasts. We do online community. But before we go too far ahead of ourselves, let's introduce ourselves. I'll start with Ben and then go to Mike.
My name's Ben. Look, I've got an interest in all things interesting. It's not too focused, but I really love this community. I like being part of it. I love hunting stuff. I like talking about hunting stuff. That's me in a nutshell.
He's not very focused, so that's all right. Mike, you want to go?
Where are we going?
Want to go?
Australian lighting.
Oh.
That's for any Australians who are watching the show right now.
I'm Mike. Hi, Mum. I like to hunt things, but unlike Ben, I will let you know that it's not animals or anything like that. So I hope the Tiger King doesn't come for us. I do enjoy collecting comics. The older the better, but at the same time, I do have a bit of a taste and a thirst for modern variants and the like. Indie comics are probably my biggest jam.
Yeah, you do. You do know quite a lot about it. I look after Grail Hunters Australia, the community group on Facebook, but it's also born out of a few other initiatives published in indie comics, and just a love of collecting for the past 30 years, whether it's comics or toys or collectibles. It's come a long way, but at the same time, you never have enough, right? It's a little bit of collecting forever and always searching for the next grail. We do a bit of everything. We've got a podcast going. We've got exclusives and we work with a company called Halo. That's a grading company, Australian grading company, and we do little exclusive labels for creators, and it's creative focused. We'll show you a bit more about that a bit later. But it's a good group. It's a good community, and we love being part of it. People are interactive, and with the podcast, we try and bring other fellow collectors on and talk about their passions and what drives them to collect the way they collect. That's it.
That's it. You talked a little bit about collecting, and my collection's come a long way in 30 years. It will never stop, though, will it? I mean, who has ever had a collection, or knows a collector, I should say, that's gone, that's it, I'm finished. I've got everything I need right now. It's something you carry with you for your whole life. It's like a mozzie bite that the acquisition of things brings temporary relief, but you know that soon after that you're gonna have that need to find something again. And we've spoken about this many times on our podcast, just about how it's that it's a bad word, yearning. That yearning.
You're always chasing.
Always chasing.
That's the thing. I think the best part of this is the fact that you never complete. It's like a car with three wheels.
Yeah.
You put the fourth wheel on and another one comes off, and you just got to fill it up with something else.
You need to get better cars.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you guys talk about that. You say that you Neville, you've been collecting for 30 years. Like I turn 30 years old this year, so you have collections that are literally older than me. You've been.
I've got collections twice as old as you, but I started collecting when you were in diapers.
So
you're still in diapers. So
we weren't going to tell that. I actually would like to say that those diapers are because of you.
The thing,
you're drinking
diversifying your collection. You've got stuff that's 30 years old. You've got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think that I think I like the hunt more than I like what I buy. If that makes sense. There's a high chance that anything that I buy might not ever be read or even really touched outside of it.
You just want a copy. You want to own it. Yeah.
That's what I do. I think that's the big thing is I tend to have a pile of envelopes on my desk that I don't open, that they're still on there because I know what's in it. Don't ask for...
So it's a tick in the box for you, right?
Yeah. Don't ask for any seller feedback because I've not looked at the book yet. It's still packaged.
Yeah.
Well, we should touch on why we are doing what we're doing right now, because we are living, that whether it's a Chinese curse or a gypsy curse, they say, may you live in interesting times.
Oh, I don't know if you can say that,
Yeah.
but I hope that you've got a monkey paw.
That's it. Sorry to anyone if I just offended your heritage. However, interesting times. We're living in the age of COVID right now, which sees us, instead of being in sunny San Diego right now, telecasting from a garage in Point Cook, Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a sunny 8 degrees
Yes,
as we speak.
It's lovely out.
We might be wearing our lanyards and our t-shirts, but it's cold.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah, and this for us people of the same ilk, it's put us in a bit of a unique situation, hasn't it? With everything, like every part of our lives now has been suffered some sort of upheaval, and collecting's no different, really, isn't it? I mean, I know when this whole thing started and we started getting the lockdowns, people started unfortunately losing their jobs. You really start thinking, how will this affect what we do?
Yeah.
And how are we going to go about trying to keep our lives as normal as possible, at least do the things we still love doing during this time where we can't just go out in public and go and get something.
But in a sense, for many of us, this has become the therapy we need, right?
Absolutely,
I think,
that and Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing. It's like the number of packages that show up at my front door quadrupled as a result of me working from home.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, getting back to COVID collecting, as we like to call it, right?
That's not the collecting of COVID, the virus, but more collecting during the time of COVID lockdown.
And going back to me saying, like, my purchasing's quadrupled over the past few months.
Yep.
And it's really to the benefit of my own emotional state. Mm-hmm. It is really just enjoying the time at home and making the most of it, right? But I'm really keen to chat about, like, what do we buy, how do we buy it, where do you source it, what influences the purchases, stuff like that, right? What is the highlights of what you have procured over the past few months?
Yeah, it comes back. I think most people have a couple of different sort of categories. There's the stuff that they've got on their hit list. They know that they need it to finish off a run or a line or whatever it is. Whether it's a toy line, whether it's a comic book run. So there's stuff that you always are after, you're always on the lookout for. But then there's those opportunistic buys where you go, geez, I reckon I could get this at a good price.
I never knew I wanted this.
Yeah, I never knew I wanted this until I want it really bad because I know other people want it. And there's nothing like seeing something with a few bids on it. And, start imagining that other person on the other computer hitting.
What I like most about it is when you presented with the article, we actually have to do a little bit of research about what it is and why it's appealing.
Yeah.
And then you realize this is a good thing.
Yeah.
This is something I've always wanted.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're invested in it, you're invested in the outcome. You're like, I do want this. I want this to be the start of my new collection.
Are you saying that you do research?
When it's not an impulsive buy, of course. Yeah.
How often is that?
When it's not an impulsive buy, so maybe 10% of the time.
But I would.
Buy.
I think it'd be rare that I wouldn't do a search on something before I hit buy it now. I would. I don't know.
I think the more I know about a subject, the more reluctant I'll be to just buy it now. Like, especially with comics, because I know the field of gold, silver, bronze, modern. I know the top 20, I know the top 30, I know the grading, I know the conditions. And if something's buy it now, I'm like, it's either too good to be true, whether it's a bad seller or it is a bargain and I should have bought it now. So I do go back and I step back, I take a breather. I'm like, okay, let's have a look.
Yeah.
And people, but other people's behaviours influence that as well. It's like, how long have you thought about something hitting that buy it now? I need to come half an hour later and it's gone already, and you're like, damn it, why did I
100%.
second guess myself there?
I think we all suffer from buyer's remorse, right? Buyer's remorse is it's a curse because it's the fear of missing out. So it's almost like FOMO, but at the same time,
Well, it is FOMO, isn't it? It has to be.
By its very definition, in fact, Michael.
Thank you for that, Dr. Ben.
But at the same time, like, sometimes you didn't know you wanted it, and now all of a sudden you want it, and it's gone, and you're like, I feel for the thing I didn't know I didn't.
I wonder if you guys do something similar to what I do, which is, for instance, if I miss out on something, if I'm still thinking about it every, like after 48 hours, if it's still on my mind and everything like that, then I know
Somebody
that I
else
want
would have
it.
bought it
Yeah.
already.
But but then I know that I want it, so then I can search for it. If I miss out on something and 24 hours later I've forgotten about it and it's no issue, then maybe I didn't want it.
Yeah.
But if down the track, if I've waited, and if I'm still thinking about that thing that I should have bought, I'll go out and search because obviously I want it.
Yeah.
They call it retail therapy for a reason, don't
Yeah.
they? And the actual purchase is it's the last part of the process, isn't it? I mean, I think we all know that the fun part is the searching and the finding of these things. And Australia's a little different. We've got a few. What would you call the platforms? They're similar to I guess what other international people would have, but Marketplace. We've got Gumtree, which is kind of maybe what would you call it? Like Craigslist. Yeah, it's kind of the Craigslist of Australia.
Just as dodgy.
Yeah,
always
absolutely, exactly. All the pitfalls of Craigslist.
Would you sell it now for 20?
Of Gumtree. So and then you've got your other ones like eBay and all of the big platforms. So going through those and the hours of entertainment you have going
That's
through
good.
that.
The search is fun, man.
Yeah.
And and especially buying local at this point in time is good. We've had a lot of challenges around the dollar conversion rate with America, Australia. I think back to the first time we went to America, the dollar was at parity. It was $1 to $1, and at the moment it's 70 cents or just under 70. But when COVID happened, it was 54, right? It became unaffordable to buy foreign, but it became very good to sell to America because of the fact that all of a sudden the value of your collection would have increased by 18% because the dollar plummeted. But now with a partial correction, now we can buy in confidence again from America. So I feel like my buying habits have changed. It's gone to inverse into domestic buying, and now I'm going back to American buying.
I mean, I'll admit that I deliberately avoided buying keys outside of Australia, just because of that. Look, we get a lot of issues with shipping. Shipping to Australia is expensive.
We're on the arse end of the world.
So that is generally something that we have to take into consideration. The GST tax that eBay put on as well. Whatever you think that you've paid extra regardless. But yeah, with the conversion, keeping track of that, it became unrealistic to buy these keys. Like it wasn't, and I'm thinking, if it's a modern key, if we're looking at like a Miles Morales, like Ultimate Spider-Man, you'd probably be better off because it's modern, just waiting, I guess. But in fear of
it's also
the price going up, right?
That example fluctuates a lot because it depends on market awareness, whether it's the game or the movie or something. It peaks and troughs. I do think that bigger books like Amazing Fantasy, Hulk 1, blah, 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 those books are becoming unaffordable, but the best point of time to buy it is when there's a more level of parity. And best time to sell to America is before it hits parity, because of the fact that you get that conversion back.
Absolutely. But I think that this is how much do our international viewers, or how many international people worry about this as much as we do? It could be quite an alien concept, because say the US dollar is basically the benchmark currency, and so I guess the tendency would to be not be as aware of those fluctuations.
Yeah, but I would say 99% of people in America buy from America.
Yes, yeah.
No offense, but it is the way it is. The control of the market of pop culture, whether it's collectibles or toys or
they have the
comics or
monopoly.
whatever, it is in America. So you buy domestic at all times. You don't go looking for an American comic in Australia.
No.
But when you do, and this is what we're going to get to later, the reward will be bigger, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's where the global awareness comes in. We suffer from that kind of currency fatigue where they don't necessarily feel that. And whether or not that's a good thing, it's not good for us, but it's good for America.
You've got like the thing of, if you say they've got like, a fountain of wealth with what they've got and everything like that. Australia is a puddle, like
100%.
with that, whatever
Our
they
population's
have.
New York.
Yeah. So whatever they have, diminish that drastically, and that's what we have.
However, sometimes these are the happiest hunting grounds. I mean, I know that probably if I listed something international on eBay, whoever's looking at it, they're going to see it in their native currency anyway. It automatically converts it. But that's probably only eBay. The rest, like when I'm doing searches, like I said, I'm looking at like Buyee, Yahoo. I'm looking at Craigslist. I'm looking at the most obscure places I can, in the hope that I'm about to turn over a rock that no one else has turned over before. You know, so I mean, for all of you savvy international viewers out there, start jumping on Gumtree Melbourne and see what you can find. Because like I said,
there is. I mean, if there's phantom collectors in America, they would love Gumtree.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You could get a run of all, 1800?
So going back to like buying stuff over the past few months, right? Or just generally since San Diego last year. Highlights, purchases, what have you been doing? What have you bought? Because we went to Supernova together, which is the Australian Comic Convention, pre-COVID.
Like by the narrowest of margins.
Man. It was five days before crowds got banned, right?
Yeah.
So we were all cautious of the fact that, you know what, you should keep your distance. We were already doing the social distancing thing. The crowds were a bit smaller, but still you had Kevin Eastman there, you had James O'Barr there, you had a lot of international guests. We did a panel there, which was great.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and you made your first comic purchase ever at
the
old age of
ever.
85?
Yes, I did. It was good. Where is it? Well, you have it here. Show and tell.
You know what was really interesting was watching how excited you were during your meeting opportunity with Kevin Eastman, right? And
it's because 48 hours before that he didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
Oh, you can liars.
No, it's not that bad.
No.
I had watched The Toys That Made Us a week before that show. Thank you very much.
But, I mean, you had, Neville got to witness my first meeting of Kevin Eastman and yours. And yours.
I'm like a Kevin Eastman pimp.
You are.
I love it.
He's just grandfather time over here.
I should be wearing like a rainbow-colored trench coat every time I meet Kevin Eastman.
Look, and shout out to him if he's listening. He's honestly, he's a super nice guy, isn't he? He's got so much time and energy.
Do you know what? Yeah, him and his partner, they're the perfect couple for cons like that.
For meeting.
All the time in the world.
Yeah.
They're personable. They're just really, really good, right?
My favourite bit was jumping the line to get the signature, I think.
I won't take the...
Thanks, Supernova.
If looks could kill. Looks could kill.
Yeah. Just don't look back at the crowd with their eye daggers.
I actually had...
But meeting Kevin Eastman in March was really the highlight of the year, knowing that the rest of the year was going to go to where we are now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not my garage, but...
No.
Interesting enough, right? You think about it, he's got to be careful about his own, health. He's in another country. This has happened. Everyone knew about it. Kevin Eastman was fist bumping people. Kevin Eastman has always fist bumped people, right? So, you still get the same.
His behaviours are very COVID suitable, aren't they? It's not like a bear hug.
Still personal.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I'm pretty sure his sanitary, his hand sanitizer, still had the wrapper on it. Yeah. No. But no, it was very good. I think it could have been understandable at the same time, sort of a little bit demeaning and hostile. If they were more careful about, not touching or the distance and all that. But no, both him and James were both just, they almost disregarded it. That was
but at that point in time, it was a theoretical thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we hadn't seen it, the sort of the calamitous effects that it was having over. Well, we had a taste of it, but I think everyone was just speculating at that stage whether it was going to be the end of the world or that it was just going to be another Y2K bug thing going on.
Yeah. So check it out. What did you get?
I broke my
your comic
cherry and took my cherry with number 4. So first print of
gold pen signed.
Yep,
that's good.
Gold pen signed by Kevin Eastman. Yeah. And looking forward to getting it graded because it's a good copy. Should go highly. Yeah.
If you're ever selling it, I'll pay double cover price for it.
Yeah.
What, $9?
$3.
That's good.
So look, I think that's a profit right there.
Yeah.
And it was a good event too with Kevin Eastman because I think from the Grail Hunters perspective, people submitted books and we had probably 40, 50 books to present to Kev. And that was a month after I sent 30 books to San Diego for him to sign. So it's just good timing. Good timing or bad timing, but he signed 70 plus books for us.
And you know what was good? You know, not meaning to speak about me, but, you know, like I had a gift to give him.
You.
I had a gift to give him, and like having him ask for a signature on his book that I gave him, I was like, what? No? Like...
so you broke out the crayons at that stage?
No, so he even gave me one of... Yeah, I'm so glad I had my pen license. But no, like he gives me a pen and I'm like, oh no, like I'm shaking. I'm going like, oh. And yeah, like, but you know what? He could throw that book out, you know, a minute later. That experience of having Kevin Eastman ask for my signature, I was just like, oh.
Very good. So what is you other guys? We've got some other stuff that you know, we've acquired.
What doesn't Neville have?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, look. We can get into my stuff later.
Yeah.
I thought because it's a more international market that we're broadcasting to via San Diego, that we talk about more the Australian industry and community of books and publishing, and as a result of that, show off my books because it's my books that I'm showing off, right? And I thought the first part where we could start is with price variance. Like Australia, similar to Canada's got price variance of the same books, which means, and I don't know if you guys know the market well enough, America's got the American price points and Canada's got a Canadian price variant. So does Australia, but because Australia is a much smaller market, it only comprises about 2 to 3% of the total print run. And up to probably 5 years ago, people assumed that the Australian print run was a reprint, which it's not. The Australian print is actually the same print as American Canada, but just rebadged on the cover, because what happened is they had to ship the books because of the volumes. They shipped the books to Australia on ship. It took 3 or maybe 2 months, 2.5 months to get to the news agents. So where for instance, New Mutants 98, where it said March, the Australian one would say June. But when you flick it open and you look at the bottom of page 1, it's the same page.
March,
yeah. And that's what makes that appeal probably global, because it's a first print with a different cover. And that is where I'd say for the first 15, 20 years, maybe most people, even Australians, thought that they were reprints of that book after it came out. Now that CGC and a lot of the censors and the Go Collect sites are recognizing them as first prints with a different cover, the appeal's gone up and the price points have gone up and the demand's gone up.
Aren't we lucky? As you're saying, we're quite exclusive here in Australia.
Yeah, it is exclusive. Like we got it 3 months late, but the benefit is there is a level of appeal because of it.
Yeah. If anyone's been confused by Neville's strange Australian accent, it's
Copperhead
because
it's
not. So yes.
So we'll do inserts of this thanks to the man behind the cameras, Dave. But if you look at these, see April, July, there's a commonality between it, because first appearance of Carnage, America was April, Australia July. Open it up, first page, same.
Oh, should I open it up now? Sure.
I like
use your thumbs.
Yeah, but I also like, now we know that some variants, especially with the covers, don't look much different. You know, it can come down to the news, you know, the barcode to the date and all that.
So I'll hold these up. We're going to do inserts, aren't we?
Yeah.
But what I do like
but
about...
this is just so that we can talk through them, right?
What I like about the
4 months.
The Amazing 361 though, the Amazing Spider-Man 361 was, there was a color difference as well.
Oh well, this is the second print. And that's what makes this. I actually like the second print of 361 more because of the silver. Yeah. And then the Australian print's got the white, which is the first print. So the price point's different. One says Australia. You got the barcode on this one. So there's minor differentiations, but the interior side of the cover, it's the same book.
So for anyone listening that maybe hasn't had much experience with Australian variants and stuff, what would be, if you had to narrow it down to 3 tips to be able to tell that you're looking at, let's say, an Australian variant?
I only need 1 tip.
Well, what should they look for to know?
Well, the Australian one says AUS behind the price tag. So it's
very
simple
enough.
Is it AUS or AUD?
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's not. That isn't the international code for the Australian dollar.
Oh yeah,
Strangely
but
enough.
it's not just for the Australian market. That's why.
There you go.
That's not a forex thing. It's a genre thing. And I think that we were lucky enough. We as Australians were lucky enough to have had these reprints in the period where first appearance of War Machine, first appearance of Deadpool, first appearance of Carnage, and all these books. We're like the sum total of 2 to 3% of the market, of which 50% of those books might still be around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes it appealing.
It does.
It's a good market to be in, and these look and feel the same as the Americans. They're the same size, they're the same everything because the interiors are the same. I think the next thing that I'll move on to is actual physical reprints, which might be years after after the actual original books.
Are the covers printed here, like in somewhere like Sydney or anything? Are they printed?
I think they were printed there, and they were shipped as is.
So
they were actually, because you can't restaple.
Yeah.
So they were stapled and shipped as Australian covers from there, whereas the UK ones were shipped with no price tag, and they were actually stamped with a physical stamp, hand like. Boom,
Yeah,
boom.
I've got some of them. Some of my like Doctor Strange and stuff like that have.
Yeah.
So does that mean that even with the covers and all that, are we looking at cover stock that is exactly identical to the US? Like, are they using the same printings?
Yeah,
the same
100%.
printers and everything
100%,
for those?
100%. And I think, the maybe 10% of the market in America is waking up to the fact that there's not just reprints. Like, I've got Italian reprints here. This is the first appearance of Deadpool Italian, which is actually X-Force #1 for them. It's really weird. But unlike this, these are the same book, printed at the same time from the same paper stock. This one's not.
That Italian reprint. So are we looking at, like, technically that's a New Mutants 98
New
in
Mutants,
that?
It's 3 times fixed, so it's 98 to 100 in one book.
Okay, yeah. So they pretty much almost started, let's say, the X-Force series that most people would know followed on from New Mutants.
Yep, exactly.
But
exactly.
they've just
it's the
started
breakdown of X-Force or New Mutants into X-Force, which is really
Which
good.
I would say, like, probably, I probably would have said New Mutants or the X-Force should have been like 87 sort of starting point. But
yeah, with Cable's
But
introduction.
yeah, look, that makes sense. I can sort of see that. I do like sort of we don't get many bumper size comics doing something like that. So to see those reprints, I think that's worthy of any collection.
No, it's good. And it's good fun to have. Like, because this is literally coded as a reprint because it came out 6 years later, it's a nice to have, but you open it up and the pages look the same and everything, right? These ones, the appeal is there because it's the same book, same entrance, or same first appearance, same everything, just additional value because it's got the Aussie cover.
And lower print run.
Lower print run,
Yeah.
exactly.
By a long way. Like you're saying, you speculate that might, if there was 100,000 prints of whatever, there might only be 3,000. Because I guess they're sizing the print run to their speculated sales in Australia, which because of our small population.
Market distribution.
Yeah.
And back then they actually put it in newsagents. So similar to America in the 80s, we had distribution to the tats shops and shit like that.
Yeah.
Shops like that. Where you could literally go to a shop or a supermarket and pick it up. I'll call it the good old days of comic distribution.
So if you had to sort of give a bit of an estimate to our viewers out there, out of all the books, be it Amazing Spider-Man 361, X-Force, New Mutants 98, all that, how many of the Australian printings do you think would still be in existence? Do you think that for certain books or even like the older books, there would still be more technically in existence? Or do you reckon it would still be less due to damage and water damage?
Look, I think it's less because at that point in time, I know we're only talking about the 90s, but even at that point in time, people didn't collect to put it in sleeves and grade because grading didn't exist in the 90s. It feels like it's 20 years ago, but CGC is only 24, 25 years old, right? So I'd say most of the books pre-96 would be read, discard, or if you were a collector already at that point in time, it might be in a box somewhere unprotected. And you can even see on my little Aussie variant, there's a sticker damage where the glue of the newsagent sticker
price
sucks
on
into
it,
Yeah.
I mean, I think
ironically, because it's got it's got it printed, they would have had the sticker there that says
I think that that's one of the things that all collectors will deal with is the bane of grey lead pencils, pens, Sharpies.
The occasional Sharpies, like the X-Men #1
the
redacted edition.
I bought.
You should have bought that one out.
I bought a collection 3.5 months ago of about 1,000 comics. Not a big collection, but it was all Bronze Age, right? It was all 74 to 80 around there. And because at that point in time, Australia didn't have a distribution channel, what happened is they'd bring in the American comics, they'd take it out with a marker and write a price. And that the currency was only 4 or 5 cents difference. So the cover would have been 35. They'd scratch it out and write 40 on the cover. So blue pen, black pen. 1,000 comics like that. Great. That's not the price variant.
Some little old lady has cost you thousands of dollars in.
My neurotic collector's mentality, where I have a almost full run of Silver Surfer from 1987, and all of the key issues in that, like Infinity War and stuff like that that's happening, and all those key issues look well read. And they all have someone's name like Rhett written on it or something like that. But all the non-important issues, the filler issues in there
are pristine.
Oh, they're pristine. I'm pretty sure no one's read these
it's
ones,
just the universe thumbing its nose at you, Mike.
100%. I'm like, oh, what's this? They're going to bring Thanos into, Silver Surfer issue 50 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they've gone and done the metallic cover on it, and it's still got a massive $5 written across it.
And further to the Australian price variants, there are also Australian reprints, but from silver and bronze eras, 60s to 85 and around there, where the books 3, 4, 5 years ago, it was a $20 book, right?
Yeah.
You would have, let's say, first appearance of Captain America or first appearance of Fantastic Four. Back then, people understood that it's print on pretty average newspaper paper, 4 colors, blah, blah, blah. It's just a reprint. We'll take it for what it is. You want to read it, it's good. But because of the global awareness of collections, there are completists like us, like me with comics, who what you want to do is you want to find variations of the book you like, because the book you like you can't afford anymore. Fantastic Four #1, it's a $10,000 book. So what am I going to do? I'm going to buy the international versions, have it as a placeholder until I find the real one. I'm going to show you something that's really, really cool.
Or a child that's 40 years old in Neville's case.
Talking about this is Avengers #1, right? We're the only country in the world where somebody in Australia thought, hey, I can't even tell you what the guy's name is. No, I can't tell you what his name is. It's not on there. But somebody drew their own cover for Avengers #1, and Stan Lee signed it and said, yep, that's good enough for me. And this comes from 1960s. It's not even dated. 1965.
Is that an official reprint?
Yeah, it is. It's a Horwich reprint. And they did Daredevil, they did Avengers, they did a few of them.
I've seen
and
the
it's
Daredevil.
actually got original art in it too. So the benefit of this is, unlike every American Avenger, including the one I've got, this has got 2 pages of original art with a new cover signed by Stan Lee. And there's only 2 of them in the world. So, 2 signed by Stan Lee in the world.
And
which is
what's
really, really good.
Interesting too is, what's the likelihood that anyone outside of Australia would have an Avengers issue #1 at a 3.0 grade point, right?
By Halo, Australian grading company.
By Halo as well, but I mean, a 3.0 for Avengers is still pretty decent.
Oh, look, it's good. It's good. But I ironically bought this from Ohio in America.
So Halo, based in Australia.
Yeah. So somebody there bought it. They understood what it meant, and I bought it back. I brought it back to Australia.
I'll give you $20
And again,
for it.
The benefit of this and the awesomeness of this, and I'm sure Dave will put an insert in the panel. The cover is actually redrawn from panels in different comics of where Thor, Iron Man, and Hulk is, including a Strange Tales. So it makes the comic really unique, and it makes it even more unique that Stan Lee
How
signed
would people go about finding the Australian
Good luck.
printing.
It's impossible.
So they couldn't even find it
It's impossible.
ungraded.
You need
It's
to buy
impossible.
a ticket to Australia,
It's
go down to
impossible.
the Leverton market and
Drive
cross
to
your
Ballarat.
fingers. Yes.
Drive to Ballarat.
And not
No.
only that, but I mean, like, try and get like Stan Lee to.
Well,
sign
that's
it
going to
too.
be near impossible now.
I would
but-
love to have been there when Stanley signed this. He would have said, "What the?" with
Yeah.
something else after
Yeah.
that.
That person got a cease and desist letter.
Yeah. So like this, the Avengers that we're showing here, there are many comics that are gaining appeal because people understand that it might be a first appearance, but it's got a new cover. Even the UK first appearance of Wolverine. I mean, I've got that back here, where it's Herb Trimp's art, whereas the American one's got Herb Trimp's art, but they redrew Hulk's face. Americans don't necessarily know that the cover they've got has got a redrawn face
It's wrong.
pasted on top of it, because they're like, oh, Hulk's face is actually contrasting the way Wolverine is posted. But if you look at it,
I'm sure we'll put an insert here.
We'll put it in an insert. We'll put it in
But
an insert.
I mean,
But you look at it and you realize that Hulk's face is different. And that's actually the original art. The UK comic is the one with the original art, not the American one.
am I
Wow.
Am I allowed to take this opportunity to sort of give my own bit of show and tell, which shows,
Go for it.
I guess, the rise and rise of Australian comics and collectors by showing an international item that people banded together to get to me?
It was a colony of people.
It was.
So
Across countries.
what we're looking at here is, so we've got a 1989 Marvel Wolverine that we've got here through Just Toys. Now,
It's a stretchy one, isn't
it
it?
is. It's very bendable. For you.
It's very bendable. It
It
says
is.
it on the
It
cover.
says bendable.
And
So,
just 3 and up, so you can't swallow it.
long story short, I got one of these for Christmas one year. As a kid, you open it
I
up.
hope
Nothing.
it's not, 1 year, like in
Yeah.
the 80s,
So-
90s.
Well, I was born in 1990, so I mean, maybe people held on to it until it was mine. But as a kid, nothing stays packaged, unfortunately. And mine got lost, probably damaged and gone. I put it out there saying that this is probably the one thing that I want to own more than anything, and I'd pay a ridiculous amount of money for it. Ben,
That's when we.
yeah, so I mean, that's where like I let Ben and Neville take over that story and tell everyone what happened next.
Look, Ben did the hard work. I'll take the credit, but go for it, Ben.
Well, I found it. It was a matter of tracking it. There we go.
Yeah, you hold that.
It was tracking it down, that's what's fun about these things. When you've got some vague description of something. If you told me, it was Just Toys Wolverine, blah blah blah, that would have been easy. That would have been
Instead,
easier,
I said
so.
it's a bendable brown and yellow Wolverine, and that was it.
That was the first thing I
Has
typed
he got
in.
delivery issues? Why is he yellow?
I was like, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I was like maybe 4 or 5 when I
Yeah.
got one. Yeah.
So, for those who don't know me, and let's face it, none of you will. I really, really enjoy tracking down obscure things, and this posed a bit of a challenge, but it's not something I haven't done before. So I got a result. Anyway, I think the problem when we tracked it down was the old curse of will not ship
Shipping.
overseas. Yeah. So even though you'd be more than willing for something as sentimental as this is to Mike to pay well over what the actual figure was worth, and it wasn't.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was.
Nah.
Mike didn't pay anything, so.
Well, yeah, I
that's
mean,
it.
and we'll get to that, but I'm pretty sure, like, at the
So-
time I said that I was willing to pay. I knew that I'd be overpaying, but
Yeah.
I'd be willing to pay it.
Yeah.
Like,
so
that was it.
so I found it, and then I flicked that morsel of information onto Neville for him to extract as much social collateral as possible from Mike. So that's where you then you bought it, and then
I didn't do much. I just clicked buy it now.
Yeah.
And took all the credit.
That's it. He took all the credit. So I just want Mike to pay him some money, though, thus reducing the social collateral.
He brought me.
I bought quite a few beers today.
It's fine. It's fine. We'll have him later, and
Yeah.
I'll forget that. I'll probably open the package.
That's
Open
it.
up.
No, you won't.
We're gonna make sure it's real. I mean, it could be
In
could be a
saying that,
knockoff.
how quick could you find me one that's loose?
Yeah.
I don't want that one
About
open.
4 seconds.
In what sense? Oh, okay, it's in terms of, out of its packaging. Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, to be honest, I'd own another one loose so that I can play with it. Take it in my school
well,
bag
challenge
everywhere.
accepted.
Yeah, that's good.
But no,
and you
like-
know what? You know what? I don't think these were distributed in high volume in Australia. So to have one in a little cover and still in the box, it's not new. It doesn't have the.
It's not going to grade well in AFA as far as the
but I mean,
packaging
like,
goes.
to be honest, though,
it's
to
nice,
have it
right?
packaged and that's over 31 years old sort of
Yeah.
thing, like, you know, I think that looks good for 31 years old. And so, like, you know, I'll take this opportunity
I'm just going
to
to
thank
say
both of you.
it's pretty, but it's not a Snake Eyes new in package.
Do you have a Snake Eyes new package, though?
No, it's a Segway. Yes. It's over
There
there.
it is there.
So this is what I bought myself as a treat for getting you your Wolverine. Is a G.I. Joe Snake Eyes new in package. It's got $276 on the cover. It's still in the box.
You paid
1988.
$276, but it was without the decimal
Yeah,
point.
Yeah,
that's
there
it.
was no
Decimal
$2.76,
point
so
was 2 spots to the left.
And this goes back to our early conversation where it's like you didn't know you ever wanted it until you found it. And you're like, this is the best thing ever. And yeah, like you get it, right?
It's sat in your garage ever since you bought it because it's
Yeah.
the best thing ever.
Still trying to figure out what to do with it and who Snake Eyes is. But it's
Open
cute.
it.
But you do that. I mean, but even stuff like I've had stuff that I've wanted for years, right? And I was umming and ahhing years ago whether, like, as a couple, I know our wonderful cameraman Dave has got some awesome Tommy stuff, the Tron stuff, and I thought I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind. I'll just have a quick look on how much a light cycle is in MIB. Oh my God, knocked me over with a feather. It was the prices have just ballooned in some of this stuff. You know, around that 80s vintage, it just seems to be going up exponentially every time I'm looking at it. So it's kind of like the quick and the dead these days, isn't it? Like think about something.
You know what, the more I talk to you and the more I get to know you, the more I want Galaxy Rangers and the toys, the Voltron Force, all those type of things where I'm like, oh, I used to love it.
I mean, that's it. I mean, I was talking to Ben earlier, and you had the Mazinga out, and I said, I have one. It's in my garage somewhere.
Like, break that bad boy out. You don't want it really that bad.
No,
I'm
I'll give
sure
it.
you.
No, I'm just, but I mean, I think now's probably a good time to thank our producer Dave for all the hard work that he's done in this episode.
He's doing all the work.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're just merely puppets. He wrote the script.
Sitting here
for
drinking
this.
our tea and
My
chewing the
tea's
fat.
empty.
Yeah.
Dave, I need some tea, man.
Tea?
Can you pause?
Excuse me, Fluffer.
So one more thing I want to touch on from a collectability appeal perspective is when you hit the trifecta, right, and you get Australian variants and it's a print variant. So similar to the book that we've got in front of us, it's Vampirilla. In Australia, it's
We'll have
Vampirilla
an
51, and it's the Panther cover, but it's also double covered. And the fact that, again, coming back to ratios, we're on a book that maybe 2% of the market would have, and it's got a double cover. It's actually a pretty nice book. And
I can do you a favor and take one of them off for you
Yeah,
if you
that's
want.
it. We can fix that in about 10 seconds. We can make
the benefit of it is if you grade it on the internal cover, which is seen as the cover.
Is that a market thing? Like, would you say that across market, you know, if you got a double cover modern comic, they would grade it on the inside cover?
Yeah,
not
100%.
Yep.
hang on. So, let me get straight. You're speaking about some knowledge about double covers. They are common, really.
They are common knowledge that they exist,
Okay.
but it's always less than 1%. So to have one is good.
I'd be sacking that guy. I'd be sacking the quality guy on the production line if it was more than 1%.
Yeah. But the fact is, I've got a Shazam #1.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
double
yeah,
cover,
yeah.
right? And when you go to grading, they don't grade the external cover; they grade the internal cover quality. So literally, you could say that the book condition is inwards, and it's protected from finger marks and all that type of
Why
stuff.
do they
my
do
mind
that?
is racing right now because I think why just the covers? Do you ever have something that has 2 page 4s, for example? Or,
I won't say that's common because
it's in 4-page
on
increments.
It's on different printing sheets, right?
Yeah, I
But
guess
what
so.
would happen is there might be printing marks or
Yeah.
blemishes or black and white pages in between.
I mean, that's-
like I think Dazzler's got some.
Yes.
There's a few of them. Yeah.
I mean, with anyone that doesn't know, like, obviously, like, for every page of paper in a comic book, that's 4 pages, right? You know, so as much as we'd love to keep chatting here and how much we appreciate our viewers, I think it's probably time that we start wrapping this up. What do you think?
I just think I love the fact that we were part of San Diego at Home2020. It would have been better in the sun in
in San Diego.
Yes.
And we dressed for it, but Yeah, I'm going back inside where it's nice and warm.
Neville has
yeah.
a blanket on his lap under the table here.
Do I? Shorts.
But it is. It's quite an honour for us. We're trying to grow what we do, and
We love what we do.
Yeah, this is a big leap for us. So thank you very much for entertaining our anthropodian antics, I guess you'd say.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
one last thing to wrap this up, if you guys are done, Neville has lost an important family member recently, so this goes out to Sparky, a
Sparky.
really awesome dog
She's
here.
over there.
Yep.
So
Good girl.
we'll be sure to put
Good
some
girl.
photos up there. But yeah, this one's for Sparky.
Oh, thanks,
To
man.
Sparky.
Thank you very much.
See you later, guys.
Sparky Con. Thanks.
Sparky Con at home,
See you guys. See you
Cheers.
next year in the flesh.
In the flesh.
hopefully.
Thanks, guys. Don't forget to check out our podcast, Grail Hunters, on Spotify. We're talking about comics, toys, collectibles, and also we have a Grail Hunters Australia community. Join it. I know you're not Australian. If you are, even better. But we just show off your collectibles and have some fun. Thank you.
Pop a shrimp on the barbie.
Pop a shrimp on the barbie. This is a knife.